In this world, we sometimes receive a gift of a medical miracle. This is the story of one of those medical miracles. This is the story of Nicholas Velasquez. August 16, 2007. 6-year-old Nicholas Velasquez, his mother Angelica, and her fiancé John were running errands in San Antonio. Nicholas had just picked up crickets for his lizard back home. They were traveling south on 1604, heading home at around 7:30 in the evening. An otherwise normal day was just about to turn tragic.
It happened very, very quickly. There was a van in front of us. The van saw the driver. He swerved out of the way.
The driver was going against traffic. His blood alcohol level was 4 times the legal limit.
I saw headlights coming directly at us, and I told John, I said, he's coming straight for us, he's gonna hit us. And he swerved and he hit us.
Silence followed the horrific sounds of crunching metal and squealing tires.
The impact was so hard, I couldn't breathe at all.
Angelica was conscious and turned to check on Nicholas and John.
I called for Nick. Nick was whimpering in the back, calling for me. Thank God he's okay, he's alive. John was right next to me. John couldn't breathe, I could tell. I unbuckled his seatbelt to help him because he couldn't talk. He was just so, distressed.
It would be a while before Angelica would learn how bad Nicholas was injured, as she and John were taken to the trauma center at Wilford Hall Medical Center, and Nicholas was rushed to University Hospital, the only level 1 trauma center in South Texas that cares for critically injured children.
As far as his type of injuries, his intra-abdominal injuries, and as far as how sick he was, he's definitely one of the sickest kids we've taken care of who survived.
As bad as things seemed that first day, they had no idea the worst was yet to come. John had to stay at Wilford Hall, but Angelica was transferred to University Hospital the next day. She was finally able to see Nicholas, but no one could reassure her that her precious boy would survive.
It's a feeling that I'll never shake. It was silent I'm sorry's. He was just so swollen, his body. It didn't look like him.
His whole abdominal wall was destroyed. His multiple areas of his intestines were severely injured. His aorta was torn and then clotted off.
Every minute of every day, it was a prayer.
You have to remember that the blood vessel, the aorta, it's the critical blood vessel of our whole body. And a 6-year-old is it's a tiny blood vessel that's, it's really the worst possible circumstances you could imagine. We have to do an ileostomy. We have to basically make it where that his intestines drain onto his abdominal wall, which itself is a problem. You have to remember his whole abdomen is basically torn in half. And you can tell this is kind of an emotional roller coaster it's an emotional roller coaster for the doctors too, but it's not nearly as much an emotional roller coaster for the doctors as it is for mom.
This shouldn't happen to anybody. It shouldn't have happened to Nick.
There wasn't a single turning point in his recovery. For every day they received good news, there would be another that brought bad. Just when things started to turn in his favor, he developed a rare brain complication. It looked like a stroke. At first, they thought Nicholas might end up blind, unable to talk, or even recognize his mother.
Went from basically looking pretty good to really looking bad from a brain standpoint. All of a sudden, Nicholas becomes unresponsive. He has a blown dilated pupil. He's in a coma, requires a ventriculostomy tube to decompress the pressure in his brain. You know, I think everyone at that point in time sort of thinking the worst. Remember, he still has all of his other problems. He's still going to the operating rooms routinely for washouts. Still worrying about his aorta, and but you know, he basically started getting better. I remember when they first told me he's following requests in there. I said, yeah, it was pretty amazing.
As Nicholas seemed to be finally out of the woods, John was headed back into them. Because of his serious facial injuries, no one was surprised he had a lingering headache, but instead of improving, the pressure above his nose and between his eyes was getting worse by the day. He went back to Wilford Hall, where they discovered a massive blood clot on his brain. He was rushed to the operating room. That operation went well, but he too had complications. In total, John underwent 9 operations, including having a part of his skull removed and replaced with a ceramic insert. Nicholas spent some time in rehab, then back to University Hospital for another operation, and finally home just before Christmas.
The rehabilitation care of Nicholas is very complicated in that he's had severe injuries to his legs from lack of blood flow. His abdominal wall is completely broken. His spine is broken. So he's all the things that you normally would use to stabilize yourself when you sit up or stand up, or the abdominal wall. Think about when you use your abdominal muscles just to sit up. That doesn't work.
I was very confident that he would walk again. And I would just have a dream of him walking, getting off the couch and walking.
Every tiny movement was huge. Wiggling a toe, lifting a knee. He'd stand up without the use of his walker for 3 seconds. And then the day finally came when he stood up from his chair and took a few steps.
I remember it was summer and we put up a pool in my sister-in-law's backyard. I had left somewhere and I came back. And John was practicing with him, and when I got back, he told him, "Go, Nick, show her." And he got out of his wheelchair and he started walking towards the pool. And I just started crying. It was just so wonderful.
I had to try to balance myself, and I kept on falling, but I kept on getting up and then started walking and just kept on going.
More than a year after the crash, he walked into his 2nd grade classroom without his crutches. He is so ready to do all the things little boys like to do.
I would really hope that I would be strong enough to go back to soccer.
It's hard, but he's not giving up.
You know, I think he has exceeded what most people's wildest expectations would have been.
Throughout his ordeal, Nicholas showed strength and maturity well beyond his years.
He's extremely durable. He's like Timex. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking. And he's obviously a fighter, but he has such a sweet personality.
I want to be a doctor.
He's seen pretty much every discipline of medicine. He could probably tell us what specialty he wanted to be.
I wanted to make my mom happy.